Hey, I don't know if we started the meeting or if you can hear me, but it is on mute.
Yeah, I don't have any intention. Every time it airs, I'm like, I should really reach out to Gene and see.
We tried man, the main prize from Neurofest is gonna go.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, I love it when that comes on for sure. Absolutely.
Um, okay, should we call to order our meeting? I think, yeah, we got a couple online. We do have a quorum. Want to do some roll call?
Anastasia Keitlinger,
Cynthia McCoy. Robin Barrett. Kristen Hansen.
Joe McDonald, Connor Fraser.
Hallie McDermott.
Kenzie Light.
Me, Ryan Wilson, KFFR.
Carrie Crandall.
Thank you. Anybody want to make a motion to approve prior meeting minutes?
I make a motion to approve the prior meeting minutes.
I second.
Thank you. And approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
I second.
Thank you. And I think before we jump into jury stuff, we'll chat with Ryan here about some stuff from HeroFest.
Perfect.
Cool. So you're still planning to come do the live stuff, chat with the artists, same as last year?
Yeah, absolutely. Are we planning on doing same thing over at Mural Park?
We haven't really laid out the map, but I'm envisioning that's a great spot for you guys.
I liked it.
Okay.
I think, I love the idea that we could broadcast from there, also broadcast from where we were at
Mhm.
the parking lot. And then is there going to be, sounds like there might be more activity here at the park?
I'm
That-
hoping to pack in at least a couple more murals there. I think True Penny little smoothie shop from Grand Lake will be set up either near the
Cool.
might be a good spot for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have these, so we did the Alpenglow Bounce event again this year. And part of that, is you cross country skied through the forest and stuff. But we got all of these little radios. And so it's a lot easier. Last year we were basically streaming KFFR.
Mhm.
And this year we could easily use those little radios to kind of flood the sound waves through the entire Mural Fest.
Cool.
And of course we have all of the interviews and kind of testimonials that we got last year. So I'm hoping to use that as kind of promotion leading up to the event, and then we'll continue to get more of those. And so we're really building a repository of people who enjoy the Mural Fest and get people excited about the Mural Fest. So yeah, I think that's really great. Again, we'll still have our regular DJs playing and we'll do breaks from the Mural Fest in there. But, you know, I kind of noticed last year is a lot of people came to us as well for, hey, how does this whole Mural Fest work? So I would say, make sure that wherever our tent is, that we have all the information, which we basically had last year too. But I think it's just
Yeah.
another information kind of point for you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we have had talks of doing multiple info tents, which is kind of hard to.
Tent which Sarah's talking about putting in, the little Coslick Park, or right by Fisher's, the little
Yeah.
park there where you normally have 3 murals, putting a tent in, having a couple of murals, and right across the street, we've got 3 or 4, however many, and then across the street into the other. So there's the one end of information tent, and then the other kind of based close to KFFR would probably be the other thing, so.
We
Um,
definitely have a bigger amount of people to help out with some of that stuff, so that'd be, yeah.
And we can
okay.
probably get some of our volunteers to help
Right.
do man some of those
Awesome.
areas.
Yeah,
For sure.
that'd be great. Cool. And then you also, we talked about painting the doors in KFFR,
Great.
which is really exciting.
Yeah,
guys have
no,
a-
so it is really exciting thought, you know. So a couple of logistics, like obviously it'd be easier, I think, to take the doors off and get them painted.
Mhm.
However, 2 of our doors are from Eagle Wind Studio, and they're like 600-pound doors.
Hefty.
So like we don't want to really take those off the hinges.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
So I'm guessing those would have to be painted in place. We could certainly set them up at the studio and have them, I mean, I kind of leaning on you guys, what you think would be the best option there. One, I want to promote the Mural Fest with the doors. I want to promote the local arts and culture with the doors. I want it, when people walk into the studio, I want them to feel like they really get a sense of the identity of our community.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the thought right now is, and we're open to suggestions too, but you know, obviously we play lots of different genres of music. So we were thinking maybe each store could be a different genre, but you know, if there's other ideas, if we want to focus on different thoughts or different aspects of the history and culture of Fraser,
Mhm.
you know, we could certainly entertain that idea. We've also been working closely with Susie Cruz Frameworks,
Mhm.
and she's happy to help and guide any discussions on that as well. So I am kind of curious what you guys think about that whole project. How do we integrate that with the mural project as well? Does it happen before? Does it happen during? How do we drive traffic? How
many doors do you have?
Good question. We will have 1, 2 that can get, no, 3, like 1, 2, 3 that can be moved off their hinges. And then another 2 that would have to stay on their hinges. There's the front and then there's the back. I mean, so we don't necessarily have to paint the back, but you know, a lot of times the doors open and so people could see that. You know, I think it could also be cool to get students involved and maybe have one door from different schools or something along those lines. You know, something representing youth, obviously, since I guess youth is on my mind this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think it's just, think of it as like a billboard for the Mural Fest as well as a representation of what we're trying to strive for as a community radio station.
How long can the removable doors be down before they have to go back in?
They can, basically the 2 doors that are the 600-pound doors, are the only ones that have to be
Yep.
in place. We can remove any of the other doors.
And they can be down for a week.
Yes,
For a 2 week
absolutely.
kind of period.
So I'm understanding that we're still looking for like, or dialing in who will do the painting.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I have a suggestion around that. Right now, because a lot of our artists won't get here until the weekend of the thing, and they're going to be busy doing their thing. But to promote leading up to that, right now, I certainly know that Sarah Kanzanite, the town manager, has been looking for projects for the youth of the rec center summer program to be able to do. And we could remove those doors, take it to those youths and do that. And then I would suggest one artist to do your 206 pound, or your two 600-pound doors. So you keep a consistency of vision and you have an adult that's there, not going to be pushing buttons and doing other kinds of things that would do the in-studio kind of work. But as a project for the youth of the county, it's certainly possible, could be sanctioned by PAC, and they could kind of talk about mural. You could talk to them as a group and go, this is what we want to do. I think that's a very, very feasible possibility, because right now I'm trying to find things for them to paint and do. And this is something where we can stay on location. We can just call them to them. You know what I mean? As opposed to trying to get them to paint the garbage cans along the trail, that, the outside trail, to do some of these other things. And it would get that integration of community that you're kind of thinking about. If
Yeah.
anybody else has thoughts on
I mean,
that.
I think it's also an opportunity to highlight our local artists too, right? There's so many great artists in the community that I would also want to make sure that they know this would be an opportunity that, we do, our entire goal is to get more and more traffic into the studio,
Right.
so that it does have that community feel. And so that, think of it as kind of like a way to promote the artist work too.
Yeah, definitely. And I like that idea, Joe.
Every
Um,
one of those artists would have a parent that would want to come in and see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, and we could do something fun with that with the kids. I mean, even if you had vinyl stickers of like the instruments you want, and then they could really do something, paint, and then we could pull those off. So at least you have some kind of music theme
Mhm.
or something along those
Mhm.
lines.
I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like we chatted via email. I like the idea of having at least two of the removable doors that you have near your tent for an artist to paint during the mural
That would
fest.
be really cool.
Yeah.
Theme that is along the trail that people could kind of learn about.
Yeah.
Not only the station, but Mural Fest.
Yeah.
And where we're located.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially if you can have those two doors down for the weekend, I mean, that's still a pretty significant amount of space for somebody to paint.
Mhm.
And then we could find
If-
one artist.
It does require supervision though, because if you just throw up something and say, paint this, the chaos that emerges from that, as we tried to do on numerous occasions in the beginning of the festival. But if there's an artist there, kind of, as we've done with the
Yeah.
blades, the
Mhm.
snow blades, that's laying out patterns and doing
Mhm.
other things for kids to kind of come by and paint, that's certainly really easy to do.
Yeah.
Flood paints.
Well, I guess my thought was that we would find an artist that maybe doesn't jury into our 30.
And offer them that
And
spot.
offer them to paint, front and back of both those doors.
Mhm.
So they would be painting as opposed to the public being painted.
Yes,
Mhm.
correct. No, not public. Yeah, I think, and then your third door, we could incorporate
Yeah.
something with the rec center and do that. And then the other two, because there's 5 total. Is that my understanding?
1, 2, 3. Yes, 5 total.
5
2
total.
in the studio, 3 that could be removed.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
2 at the tent.
Mhm.
being
Do it,
painted
yeah,
During the.
near
Mural
your
Fest,
tent. Yeah,
And then 1 with the kids for the rec center.
Yep.
And then
And maybe
the
that
other
is
2 that are
gonna
in
be-
the
yeah.
studio.
yeah. And I mean, if we want to pick 2 separate artists. Interested in doing the other 2 doors in the studio. I guess that'd be totally up to you.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that, and then you'd have 2 artists and then kids
Mhm.
in there. And
Cool.
of course, then
We
you
do have
yeah,
1
thing-
extra door that is to our server room. So if we have an overabundance of people who want painted door.
Yeah.
It's just, there's often chairs in front of that door, so you don't see it that much. But when there's events, you would.
I mean, depending on the children's programs, if there's like a, you know, elementary school age kids and then like school age kids, you could do like, you know, an older
Yeah.
kid's door and a younger kid's door.
Or
for that extra
maybe
door.
the same door on both sides.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Kind of see.
yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I definitely like
Uh,
that. The rec center doesn't typically have older kids. I think it
Okay.
usually stops at about 11.
Okay,
Yeah,
And
we're
that's still a lot
5 to
back.
11.
but camp is so fun. I want to go back. Can we have a camp? Yeah, I like that a lot. I like the idea of if there's two doors that we're bringing to the event, the potential of having somebody or having two artists, like two local artists that didn't make the 30, doing like the whole thing. So they could like wrap it around, you know,
Mhm.
and they could be like, you have the whole door, you can do whatever, you know, you want front and back. It
Yeah,
just has to be done.
Within the bounds of what KFFR wants. to
Yeah.
kind of-
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah, but I meant like,
You
they
know-
don't have to just stick to one side of the door, they can like wrap an image around, which would be kind of confusing, but you know, just like letting them have like the door, you know,
Yeah.
just a side of the door, you know.
Right.
Gotcha.
And you know, I mean, it's kind of, you know, that's too, Joe, like our format is bring anybody from the community come in and be a DJ and do what you want. Like, so while we have a slight vision, I'm not opposed to giving the artists complete reign. I mean, I think that's what makes it beautiful, right? Is
Yeah,
let them decide what should be represented
Yeah.
in our community radio
yeah, and
station.
obviously they'll get to talk to you and hear
Yeah.
that, and you know, that's really cool.
But it has been my experience that local artists who do not get chosen for the 30 generally should do the festival.
Mm.
Yeah,
Well, and hopefully that can be a turning point with
Yeah.
this, because they're obviously still very much involved
you
in
know what I mean.
KFFR.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely know.
well, they'd have, I mean, it wouldn't be that much of a pivot, I feel like, you know, personally,
It's not part of the competition. It's not part of
Yeah.
the
There's no-
jury prize. There is no
true,
kind of prize. It is a prize in and of itself,
yeah.
you know, kind of thing, if it can be framed that
Well, we
way.
can always cross that bridge if everybody that we offer it to says no.
Yeah.
And then we can be like, all right, let's figure out.
We can, there's a couple
Yeah.
of options to go. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Yeah,
We're basically saying artists that don't get chosen from the 30 would potentially have this as,
We have
Another-
82 applicants.
wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I think you've got some choices.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
And there are-
I'm not sure they're going to travel from Florida to pay
Right.
for, but yeah.
Right.
No, no, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
But if they were local artists, could you put, like something out there just for the local artists to say if they were interested in doing the doors, and then make a list and then
Yep.
pick from that?
Another
Yeah.
call for submission. but,
Well, and I mean, I just did it with a little gallery that we're doing at Simple Coffee. I said I've got, some paintings, and I had those filled in like 3 days.
Yeah.
So if it is a call
Mhm.
for artists that we, Fraser Valley Arts and or PAC can
Mhm.
help with, then I
Mhm.
think that there still are local artists that aren't applying for something like
Right.
this. So I think that there's still
Yeah,
a
I
lot.
kind of like that idea. And I mean, we could potentially get a sponsor or something too to have a prize or something for this.
Yeah, and
Commission.
mostly it's,
Yeah.
a stipend
Yeah.
so that, there's supplies paid for of
Uh-huh.
some kind.
I mean, that was another thought we had is what if each door had a different sponsor, right? And that
Yep.
they would get their logo or something at the bottom of the door, and then it
Mhm.
would become a commission.
That's underwriter.
Yes.
That's right.
Right.
Underwriter. So, I think that's not, I mean, it might not be a ton of money, but at least, I definitely want to respect the artist's time and
Yeah.
talent.
Yeah.
Make sure that's worthwhile for them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and it's great publicity for artists too, especially if, like I said, if they're not big enough or feel comfortable enough applying to paint for an 8x8 mural,
Right.
then.
Yeah.
So,
And then I kind of do like that integration piece of at our tent, they're painting the door
Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
during the mural fest. And
Yep.
so kind of see how that
Mhm.
is shaping up.
And if they're an artist that wants to promote their art, maybe you can give them some airtime.
Yeah.
interview or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there'd be some
Yeah.
kind of interview process and whatever.
Joe, would we be able to have like a stand for the doors or something? Just kind of
That
thinking.
would be the question.
Right.
It should be, they're all wooden doors, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so it shouldn't be too difficult, to get something that would hold them relatively upright,
Yeah.
to be able to paint any glass panels or anything like that. Yeah, I would probably simple is usually better when it comes to trying to do extra stuff on top of everything else that has to mechanically happen to make this happen. But just a couple of 2x4s kind of screwed into the side that are tilted at an angle that then could be tilted back. So one side's painted this side,
Mhm.
the other side can be then tilted once it's done, tilted the other way. But I'd have to see the doors. But yes, it shouldn't be a huge problem.
And then how would we do it as far as the doors in the studio? Would we want to make that part of the map that people could go and watch that being painted?
Do you want that space? I mean, obviously the space is open to the public
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, I mean,
I think that'd be
Yeah.
cool if people could come up and that could be a part of it. too.
Yeah. yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys have like a live stream that you could set up for those artists that are in the doors to your website, just
Like,
for that weekend? Like if they're
Well-
painting the 600-pound doors that weekend, I don't know if people would even be interested in that. Is
yeah,
flashed through my head, but like if KFFR has a live stream, not for the radio, but for video,
watch-
yeah,
to watch
yeah,
it happening, yeah.
that could be cool.
Maybe they could video themselves painting and then you could do even
Yeah,
Right.
halfway on .org.
Yeah, absolutely.
just a thought.
Or even a time lapse that we could use at a
Yeah.
later date or
Yeah.
something along those lines.
Yeah, just something so that they get, because, sometimes people don't want to venture that far out. So I was just thinking some way to get them some exposure while they're painting.
Mhm.
Just a thought.
Yeah,
Because it's
Yeah.
kind of out of the circle
Yeah.
of what's kind of all 30 murals
It
a
is.
lot of times, depending on what the weather is, and there's a lot of, dependent factors. It also is a little more hectic with having that many people come through and noise and other kind of things. If you're
Right.
having your DJs broadcast at the
Right.
time, it's a lot easier to have that in a that
Yeah.
kind of thing in a controlled environment, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean, it's no skin off of my nose.
right.
won't be very much involved in that portion of it. So however you work it up.
Maybe we could talk about doing some kind of like after party at the wrap up. Because we are doing the People's Choice Award until Sunday. And
Okay.
Saturday is like our other awards.
Right.
So maybe while we announce the People's Choice Award, we could have something
Yeah.
in the studio of some kind, and that way people,
Somebody painting.
invite people to see the doors.
One of the
And-
great things that happened last year was them deciding that they wanted to have Birdie painted from an artist that they had chosen during that period of time. So if there is this top commission kind of thing that would allow you to see the things and kind of go, you know what?
Stick around for another day.
Whether you win, whether you don't, we like your art. We want you to stick around and paint this for, inside in a controlled environment. Because Birdie was one of the better things that happened through the mural festival last year. And the guy finished early. He could go paint it before the festival was even over. Everybody in the festival was talking about that commission that happened during the festival. And that's a way of kind of having a little control, you being able to choose the artist that you felt would fit into the atmosphere that you wanted, and still possibly be painting during or right during the announcement or whatever you were talking about.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
The next weekend is Revel in the Park. Scotty Stoughton from Bonfire Entertainment is putting that on, and we're gonna have a show on that Friday, I believe, in the studio. So that would be an opportunity for people to come and check out
Mhm.
doors as well.
What
Yeah.
had been painted in the previous, for the previous
weekend,
thing.
yeah.
Which
And
is-
there's actually, I think Joanna Goodman is organizing something on that Sunday. Maybe go to the studio, and so this could all be a part
Yeah.
of that
But
experience too.
that would allow you a wider choice of entrance. Hey, Joe? That would allow you a wider choice of entrance and then an opportunity to be able to show it. So if it happens as a media commission, you'd have a little bit of money to kind of throw, okay, this is, you
Right.
didn't win this or you didn't win that, but here's this because you really like the stylistic kind of.
So
mannerism.
so maybe the doors in the studio are the commission,
Mhm.
and then
The 2 year.
the two that are, in place are the commission, and
Yeah.
then the other doors are kind of open.
With an artist control, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be easier to control all of the moving pieces if
Yeah, yeah.
it's that way.
Okay.
How many doors are you looking to bring?
5.
5, potentially 6.
Front and back.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that having the 2 doors near your guys' tent in
Mhm.
Mineral Park.
Yeah, I love that
painted,
idea.
Yeah,
Easy enough to do.
yeah. And maybe I can come chat with you next week after we choose our people and then I
Yeah.
can show you the remainder of the artists and we can send them an email and see if they're interested.
Okay. That sounds cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are you available to do sound for this Saturday night?
So tell me what's happening on Saturday night.
Dealer Takes 4
Okay.
is playing here, and then we're also doing, like whatever awards. So I think
So
you guys
last
set up at
year-
Vicious Cycle.
Yeah, last year was at Vicious
Yeah.
Cycle,
So we're doing
and
it here.
there was not a band last year.
Correct.
No,
Correct,
because we
okay.
could not. They couldn't have live music there.
Sunday.
That's
So
right.
that's why we chose to move it back
that
to
what you
this
had?
way. So I
Okay.
think Canberra will be set up, possibly the distillery and some other food things, but
Right.
yeah, hoping to have that be a little bit bigger here.
In order for us to do sound for a full band, like we have a mobile device and mobile everything that's real easy to set up and take with us wherever we go. But in order to set up, especially somebody like Dealer Takes 4, we would need our big production board. I'm reluctant to want to move that. But if we could get money to buy the case, we could potentially do the sound
Okay.
to do that.
Well, maybe let's chat about that a little bit more too. So
Okay.
maybe we can find a time next week to solidify those couple of things.
But yeah, we're definitely committed to live broadcasting and everything.
Okay.
And would you broadcast the band?
We could. Well, let me think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could broadcast the band. It would if we broadcast the band, so everybody knows we have 2 radio stations now. 88.3 FM. The format of that is KFFR is live DJs playing the music that they want to play. KWTR is our new station at 89.1 FM. And most of that's pre-recorded stuff. Democracy Now! Is actually going to move over to 89.1. So we're really trying to isolate KFFR as that. This is our live DJs. This is our community. This is our community music that they want to play. And then over here, this is more for things like Mural Fest or things that we want to broadcast. We're still going to break into KFFR for the Mural Fest. But if we were going to broadcast like Dealer Takes 4 or something, we would probably put that on KWTR. Something to know is KFFR's city of license, when we got it, was Winter Park. KWTR's city of license is Fraser. And so it kind of fits really nice. If we did broadcast Dealer Takes 4, we would put that on KWTR.
Cool.
And then it doesn't interrupt all the volunteer DJs that are doing the shows.
I've already planned for.
Yeah. So tune into both.
Yeah.
Both fun. If you don't like one, you just switch over to the other. We're luxurious now.
And they'll be doing local sports.
Yeah, we'll be doing some local sports on that. We were supposed to do one on Tuesday, but weather was bad.
Do you know, are both of them going to be broadcast eventually in Grand Lake? And when is that supposed to start?
Yeah, so actually this weekend, I'm installing the antenna at Granby Ranch for KFFR. So KFFR should be down on Sunday and be back up on Monday. And when it's back up on Monday, projects, not everything goes right, but if everything goes right, we will be broadcasting. You'll be able to get it You'll be able to get into Rocky Mountain National Park. There's a chance it might even hit Kremling, but it'll be really strong in Granby, Grand Lake, Sulphur Springs, Fraser, and Winter Park. That's a big,
And
big
that's
moment.
KFFR.
That's KFFR 88.3. Right, you won't lose it anymore. Really excited. So yeah, and please mark your calendars for June 18th. We will be doing our community photo at Granby Ranch, celebrating this moment. We got a band called Rado that's coming in from Denver. They'll be playing a 3-hour set. We'll be taking our big community photo. That's 5 to 7 at Granby Ranch on June 18th. Should be a big celebration.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're not gonna be here though.
I know. I wish I was, but
No.
I'm also.
Ireland.
Yes, it will be. Cool.
Okay, so then we'll just talk kind of about that
Mhm.
other piece.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about potentially doing a call for submissions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk about what artists we have here, or if we want to incorporate
Okay.
the call for
So
artists.
what other things do we need to be thinking about? Like, paint, what else do
Usually
we-
the artists supply that themselves, so I guess we'll just have to figure out what kind of stipend you want to offer.
Okay.
How we can do that. And then they can supply
I'll
their
just
own,
leave
whatever
it here,
media.
just help you decide that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we'll definitely figure that out.
And Susie has been instrumental in our entire redesign, so
Yeah.
she's happy to help promote and maybe even be one of the artists.
Cool. I love that too.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. She's great.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you.
Cool. Well, thank
I'm
you guys.
excited. Yeah.
This will be fun.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely.
Thanks for supporting this event.
Yeah. Well, thanks for
Yes.
All
So
right.
much fun.
that. Anything else? We're good.
Cool. No, yeah, I think you're
You guys
free
have
to
any
go.
other questions about the Mural Fest or on our side? I'm sure as we get closer, right?
There's a lot of time between now and then. Well, not as much as I would like, but yeah.
Well, we know how to find you.
Yeah, you know where we are. Show on KFR Thursday night. Gonna be good.
I
Very
need to get in
exciting.
next week to try and sit
Yeah.
up for somebody. Your Tuesday.
For sure.
Fit it, but I'm
He
Oh.
gets- he has a good
Congratulations.
radio voice.
Definitely.
It's gonna be awesome.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Very cool.
Very cool. I'll be
Be
doing it.
interesting. It'll be, in the afternoon, evening, that's 6 o'clock time. Yeah, so it should be good. It'll be a
Will be good.
whiplash show.
Whiplash.
Whiplash. I like it.
Whiplash.
Whiplash with Joe.
Yeah.
Joe Whiplash.
No, my DJ name is gonna be Grandpappy.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. That's great.
Very
So
fun.
great.
Very fun.
All right.
Oh, thank you
Thanks,
so
guys.
much.
Thanks, Ryan. Talk to you soon. Okay, so most of you have not done the jury process stuff before. Oh, yeah, go for it. Yep.
So just so that you're, I try to keep you informed. The camber wall has been initially done. Right now, if people come up to you, because as members of PAC, they're good, I love the moose. So it was beyond saving, well beyond saving, as you can see how much paint has come off of the thing. And this is not being paid for by the town. This is kind of coming from PAC money that, not my time, the town is contributing my time so that you can answer some of these questions if they do come up, because there's a few hot button issues out there right now. But my time is kind of paid for by the town, but it's not been much. And there's a couple of grants that are kind of coming up with money to like rent equipment and do these other things. But the position that's in is, so it's been blasted, it's been prepped. I have the sealant that we're going to use on it to try and keep this from happening in the future. Is like a glue sealant that goes in and seals that stucco. So every place that the paint really came off was little cracks in the stucco. Water gets in, freezes and thaws. It's the same as with your potholes on the street. Oh, it's what happened to that. And so it's been blasted. It's about to be, but I'm waiting on the owner. The town cannot be responsible for doing physical corrections on a private business. So he has to do a couple of structural things on it. But I already have the sealant ordered. That'll be painted in a day. It will sit there for a day and then will be completely painted over in one solid color with a banner announcing this will be the new commission for this year's Mural Fest coming up. And so that will hang throughout the summer, maybe even throughout the winter, depending on when's the Mural Fest, come back and paint that commission. But we're taking care of the preparation to try and keep that from degrading the way that it did in only a 4-year, 3, 4, 5-year period that happened on that.
Protect the investment that
It's, yeah, in the future. It is such a main kind of locale though, that if you people know that you're a member of PAC, it's possible you'll get those questions. So I wanted you to be informed. The next mural we have going in, the big mural from last year's commission, will be going in at the school. They've chosen where they want to have it at the school. They've been going back and forth with what see him start before school lets out so that the kids can see a professional artist at work, et cetera, et cetera. I'll be prepping that wall because it's a brick wall, doesn't need to be sealed, doesn't need to be anything, but it's set right there on the edge of the sawmill for so many years that so much dust and dirt is, encased in those bricks. So I'm just going to be doing a power wash on that wall this Friday. So whenever this artist gets ready to kind of come in and go, he will be, ready to kind of paint it. It'll be prepped and ready for him to do. We'll just have to rent a piece of equipment because it's too tall for him to be able to reach and it won't hold scaffolding. And I don't want scaffolding out where kids are going to be anyway, because you can't keep them off of it. It's like, on how to and get that. But that's the status of that. They're hoping to start that by, I would say, hopefully end of May, before school lets out, is what she would like to see. But right now, the artist had a new child, and he's trying to adjust and juggle, as any of you who've had children out of that picture, but would know that the first few weeks or months or years are chaotic. But that's where the mural stands for at the school. That's the idea and the graphic that they're kind of looking at.
I think there's some of the colors, but
Yeah.
looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do as much like what his art, why he won.
Yeah.
It seemed quite stripped down. It seems pretty
Yeah.
graphic design to me, but must have been ordered. So the boards, the paint, the base paint, the lash cleats, those kind of things, in order to try and avoid any kind of uncontrollable fluctuation that we might be seeing with the way that the supply and demand market kind of goes these days. So that is ordered, should be here in another week. They'll be set down. It's run, I think, with just a small adjustment, it's only run $147 more than it did last year, which is very, very minimal if you consider, how much we're buying, what we're kind of doing with it. So that will be on site within probably 2 weeks, and we'll start prepping that. Somehow it's much easier for me to prep it by myself than to try and bring you folks into that portion of it. The setup and the establishment of it, when we get closer to Mural Fest, then we'll probably call for assistance or some help that way. And then the last thing that I had was we've talked about the benches and what we want to do with that. That doesn't need to kind of go out to the full bureaucratic kind of thing, but those are the 3 major things from that are happening through the course of the next 2 to 3 months with PAC and what's involved with that. So if you have questions, at least now you should be able to answer them, unless you have more questions. And I'm happy to answer those if you've got them.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Lots of
Sounds
stuff
like
to
you're
do.
making a lot of progress. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Not my first rodeo. You can call me Grandpappy.
That's perfect. I think we need to change out your legal.
Grand County is my family. My
Yes.
children are my children.
Great.
We're going to create a community through music.
Perfect.
I love it.
So let's get that. Let's get that. Yeah, that's all I have.
Awesome.
Well, thanks. Let us know if you need help with that stuff. Yeah. Cool. Well, we can jump into this now too. Again, if you guys haven't done this before, you guys all scored everything. So it gives an average score for each person. We'll start with the highest average score. And we'll probably accept the first 20 just to make that easy, and then make sure that we fill enough space with locals. Usually, I mean, I think we've wanted to have at least 5 locals.
That's acceptable.
Yeah, I think on my list, there's 6 locals that I would like to see, but we can deliberate that, and then we'll choose. I'm hoping to do maybe 10 on the wait list. We had quite a few people drop out last year. I want to make sure that our wait list is big enough that we can tackle that. And then I did talk to Joe about doing 2 of the ski chairs, one at the Headwater Center and one in front of Ace that weekend. So if we could do locals for that, there was a local kid who scored fairly low, but he grew up here, so I feel like, yeah,
Is there
do that.
none of the locals qualified in the top 20?
Oh, they did, yeah.
So.
I'm
that
thinking
means
if I count
5.
3, let me see. So we'll just start off,
I think you can do it, yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna invite the first 20 that we did, so if anybody has any
Nope.
objections, let me
No, I
know.
think that's great.
Cool.
While you're doing that,
Yep.
I just wanted to bring up an idea that came up last week during the Creative Industries Conference in Grand Junction, where they were talking about this kind of event and how do you ensure that you're nurturing and growing local artists as well as inviting artists from all over the place, since that also helps drive tourism and recognizability. And one of the ideas that came up was when you're doing something like this and you've got scoring involved, award like half a point to people that are local. And the other thing is to really strip out any mention of where people are coming from, so that it's not something that we're considering or even being influenced by while we're voting. As well as maybe taking names off. So you're just really basing it on the artist statement as well as what they've done in the past and what they're proposing.
And that encourages local artists?
It's encouraging local artists because you're also awarding them partial points, but you're also not voting for people based on just the names or where they're from. You're really going on the value of the art, but you're giving the award to the local artists of a half point or a point to begin with. So if everybody is scoring someone a 6, that's what they wound up with as their average. It actually would, everyone would be really giving them a 7, you know?
And it's part of what that Callie was kind of heading with, is why we take the top 20 and then locals figure very heavily into the next 5 or 6. So if they get more than just a point, they get, they get special dispensation to a degree. If they're not following into that next 10, if they're
Okay.
not naturally falling in there, they will be, we have historically bumped them up so that we always have at least 5 local artists of the 30, which was started as 20, I think it was, or maybe even 15, but it started that there were 5 slots. So it was almost a third to local artists to begin with. So it has been kind of naturally, organically grown into it, but not as structurally as you kind of mentioned. And after you've done it for a couple of years, you automatically know who those local artists pretty much are anyway.
Right.
If they're submitting, submitting in.
Do you think that we can be fair in this, in this order where we are accepting the top 20, and if a local artist that gets a higher score because you know them, then I feel like.
But as Callie was mentioning, in the top 20, we have 3 local artists already. So
Yeah.
Who are those
I'm
three?
sorry, there's only one local artist in the top 20.
So 1.
So
Who is that?
Hanson.
Oh, okay. I absolutely think we should bring Sasso back. He has a huge following in the community. And he's an excellent artist. And I love Mackenzie too. So
Yeah.
personally, I would be okay with for sure those 3 being.
They were falling in the next 3rd or the next 10 anyway, weren't they?
Yep, definitely. So I will invite both of
So
those.
that's fine, I guess.
Did
Yeah.
you have, I didn't look at this since everyone scored it, were there a lot of like blocks of ties kind of thing?
I mean, yeah, there's like a, you know, you can see on here, some of them are like 5.2. You know, everyone that we've invited has had a score of a 5 or above. So,
Good.
the other ones I would also like to do are Kayla Thompson and Lorena, you said you knew Keegan Pitts.
Yeah.
I do.
And
have his
also,
contact.
like he probably never applied before, I think.
I don't recognize
don't
that.
recognize him either.
Local and like he volunteering mural for the com center in the balcony house, so.
I mean, I,
You know, if we have to reach out to you for doing the doors or, you know, other stuff, also can be a good candidate.
And did he qualify the top 30?
2, 3. 4, 5, 6. He was like 31.
31. So that's really not pulling anybody out
Mhm.
of the 30 that we all voted on.
If we did Kayla and Keegan, that would put us at 6 locals
It's 6.
invited. Which I mean, I'm totally
So it's-
comfortable with,
it's
and that's,
Debatable is right there.
oh, I'm sorry, if we do Keegan, Kayla, and Lisa Baird, that would be 6 locals.
Lisa scored that low. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a lot to show.
No.
No.
No, but selfishly, I love her.
Yeah.
Same.
So that would be 6 if we did those. So Hanson, Brown, Mackenzie Foot, Ryan Sasso, Keegan Pitts, Kayla Thompson, and Lisa Baird would be our locals that we invite.
Hmm.
And that wouldn't push a whole lot of. I mean,
Should-
and so that still gives us a few to deliberate for the final. Any objections?
How many locals? Mm, They're all pretty high in the, yeah, I don't know why. I have a little bit of a reservation. I think some of the locals that applied, like, I don't know Keegan, but I think that could be a good fit for, like, he scored low for me because I didn't feel like his art really, like, what he submitted
He didn't
showed
have
me
much
very
to
much.
show.
Yeah, and so I was just like, why am I choosing you? I do agree with Steve's comment that the and I was like, that would be so cool on Camber,
They
you know?
actually have a shot at winning.
Yeah, and I think while I'm pro local, I also am pro making this festival like a staple for muralists. And that's kind of been the overall arching goal, is that, like, that's, you know, we used to have 20, now we have 80 for applicants for a reason, because we're trying to make this sort of a big deal, you know, like, so for me, I love the concept, but if they're not gonna show up, like, even like, I do really enjoy Lisa's art. I love her so much, but it's not really like the direction that the Mural Fest has classically gone in the past, her style. So yeah, I just think that those are things to consider. Maybe I am, like I said, like, pro locals, but I'm also pro progress into making this a super staple thing. And so I could see somebody like Keegan being really great for the doors, or really great for a bus stop. Yeah. But that's just my 2 cents. I also think that Lisa and Keegan have they're obviously good artists. So, like, I wouldn't be miffed if the board together decided that we wanted to put them in. So that's just my 2 cents. It's just, there's just a twinge, you know, a small twinge.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. And it's always nice to see that, like, the art improves every year and then we
Yeah.
get bigger artists and all of that stuff. However, I also think it's important to,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
really.
And just to correct one point, we had 20 artists, but there were like 40 or 50 submissions.
Okay. Yeah.
So it wasn't, you know.
It was more
That's
spatial.
grown slightly.
Yeah.
as far as the submission goes, and it's becoming, becoming
I stand corrected.
a little bit of, more of something. But then again, we've also heard from artists who just wouldn't come now because of their experience that they've had. So it's a little bit of both, but yeah, there were more than just that. We didn't just kind of have 20 go, let's go, kind of thing.
Yeah. Does anybody
But
else?
I think the points are really, really solid, and I would just as soon kind of open it up. I'd like to see the art that each of them submitted, especially the two that you're talking about, and
I just wish that he would have given us more designs to
Yeah,
look at.
So this was his
Because I
concept.
love the concept, but I'm
I
like,
love that.
Yeah, it is really cool.
We have a full sky. I think this is really-
Yeah.
slightly more distinct.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it is hard to judge when people don't give a ton of
or actual murals.
content. Yeah,
Like if he did
yeah.
a mural there,
And there are
why
quite a
is
few
that
who
not-
don't.
Yeah, I
don't do
know
that.
what he did with the picture of the mural at the balcony.
what is it?
Because sometimes maybe like the artists, when they apply, they do not understand what kind of sample you wanted to see.
Sure.
Well,
You
I
know,
mean,
I mean, like.
if you're applying for a mural fest, you should be able to,
It's
show that
in
you
the
do
name.
big work. So submitting something this tiny is hard for us. I mean, a
Yeah.
5x5.
Yeah,
doesn't really
I was
show.
like, okay.
Um,
And then I was like, oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, it's nice.
yeah.
to have
I mean, obviously that's a large painting, so it
And most of them can blow it up, but yeah,
Yeah.
but you'd like to see that they've been commissioned. But, not everybody has been commissioned before. That's as large a piece as we
yeah, yeah.
dealing with
definitely.
here.
That's bigger, over 12.
Like the idea of having
That's the concept.
tertiary missions available for those that were close to getting in the top 30.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, I think that depends. Like, I don't think Ryan has a budget for doing the doors, so we. Pay for, because I don't know if that should come from PAC budget. Sarah and I kind of talked about that.
Nonprofit business. Yeah, there's a number of bureaucratic complexities that we're kind of.
Because that probably shouldn't come from,
This is a local artist as well.
yes, this was Kayla Thompson. And then this.
I see.
Lisa, I am inclined to say yes to because she's done so much for the community and she does have a significant following.
Yes.
So with those two things combined, for me, I'm like, yeah, I think she's the right fit to for the
That
vibe
really
of the
headed
event.
into a different direction this year then, but yeah.
Have different pictures, but you see the mural in the background. So she definitely does interactive things, like having the heads cut out here,
Yeah.
having this trail map, which I think is different than
Yeah.
other artists do.
Yeah.
Hanson did that the other year with the bike pedal where you had to look at it on your phone or stand back so far and it changed what it looked like. Yep, he's in. Yep. So I think, I mean, again, selfishly, I like.
Well, again, maybe also the local artists are just applying because they, for example, if it's your first time applying,
Mhm.
maybe you are like that familiar what the jury is looking for. And maybe it would be nice for them to, like she said, okay, you didn't get in, because we have so many contestants or whatever, but we would love to carry it because you're a local artist and maybe, would you be interested to, if you pay for the material, to do a check or to do the door,
Yeah.
and get an exposure of what you do.
Yeah. And I definitely think if we do those 2 ski chairs, we can incorporate whatever of those, few locals that we don't choose.
Cool.
Maybe
So-
we could use PAC money for the doors if we could do a trade out for advertising.
Well, we already have a contract, the town already has a contract with them, so we already pay them a significant amount of money for all of that stuff. But maybe that is something we could work out with the trade for them doing the sound here.
Mm.
Cause I am struggling to find somebody to do sound for Taylor Takes Four, so. And if we don't have somebody to do sound, then we don't have a band.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's a good thought. I will definitely talk to Ryan about that.
Well, yeah, that's just my 2 cents. I say
Yeah.
we put it to a vote. We put those 3 artists that we were thinking about, the locals, to a vote, and that's my personal thought. And move forward. Because I feel like we're all making really, really good points, and at this point,
Yeah.
it's just
Yep, so we have 22. If we accept those, that brings us to those 3, Keegan, Kayla, and Lisa. That brings us to 25. So vote for accepting those locals. Or against.
Right, and with accepting all 3 of them, that puts us at 6 locals. So if we accepted 2 of them, but not 1 of them, then we're at the 5 that we kind of have set as a standard for what we try to do. And then as you know, it's been suggested, we could offer the 6th one, you know, the commission for one of the chairs or the set of doors, which I think is the happiest compromise with concerns that people may have reached. It will still fulfill our 5 that we try to always commit to every year, and it will give somebody else an opening into the thing, which would be
3 would be good to do for the,
for the
or maybe
two
the
to fill
offer of the doors.
to fill the
I vote for Lisa and Keegan to be a part of the Mural Fest, and Kayla to be offered doors and/or chair.
Can you show us?
Sasso.
We just looked at them.
they're already in.
And again, with my artist experience.
Yeah.
I would like to volunteer to serve with the chair for the road.
Okay.
I would be happy to participate. of that.
Well, and we still have more chairs to do that we're gonna attempt to do after
Right.
Mural Fest.
I
So,
wanted to say I'm open,
good,
you know.
Good,
If they
yes.
need my help.
I have
Yes.
one for you that'll be a beautiful place. to paint.
yeah,
That would be great.
perfect, yes,
So, so
sorry.
the motion is to include Keegan Pitts and Lisa Baird and have Kayla be offered the chair or doors.
That is the vote.
That's what
That's
I'm
what's
saying.
on
My
the-
vote.
Second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We don't vote. I mean, they offered me to be able to vote on the jury because of the work that I do, but
Do you
as
get
part of,
official word?
I don't get an official vote in these kind of things. That's why I always announce myself as from the town manager and not part of the board, so that it keeps the separation there, just in case you were wondering, since you haven't been here.
Appreciate that.
But they have honored me with being able to vote on the jury prize and be able to vote for the
You're-
Putting it out there too, since right now we're at, that brings us to 24 invited.
Okay,
Technically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Would it still include Kayla as being
great.
in? But I mean, this is kind of the part that we get to deliberate. So all of
Yeah.
these have, I mean, we could do the first 2 that have 5.2, but anything, 5. The
Yeah,
last few we can deliberate that are really close in score.
Okay,
So,
cool.
I mean, unless we just want to call it easy and just accept those ones that we've all voted on, I feel like there's plenty of us that have voted to make that,
To fill out the 4,
to
5.
fill out the last 6.
The last
There's
six.
6, yep. Let me just double check here, because right now I have 24 invited.
And there's the ties down in there.
I mean, if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess Kayla would be tied with Simone, Michelle, and Becca. So,
There's a 3-way tie for the last spot.
The
That's
last
kind of what you're saying,
mhm.
which should simplify that, making the choice. So, if you've got, then you just vote on one of the 3 to fill that last spot.
Mhm.
Yep.
That spot.
That's kind of what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I'm in favor of that.
Okay, so I'll invite this one.
To go to that's where the issues that you were talking about earlier came up, correct?
Right.
Kind of in that last little bit, do you award an extra point for being a local? They don't have to find housing, they don't have to find other things. Or do you go, I don't care who's local, I don't care who's not, just the value of the art and what we see and what we want to do to kind of address Anastasia's point from earlier. Is that what you're looking at in making the vote on that final slot?
Right.
Since there's a three-way tie, can we see larger blow-ups of each of those three?
And Kelly, is there any way for us to view like the total scoring on our login?
No.
Okay.
No. No, because I think that would sway your voting, so,
No, I mean after the fact.
I don't know. I don't know what happens when I close
Think
that.
so.
I,
They all just disappear,
yeah,
because there was supposed to be a certain amount of anonymity in it anyway.
um.
So
this
that's
is-
Kayla
this
Thompson,
is-
that's the regular,
That's her
the
concept
regular.
or proposal.
That's her concept and proposal.
Yeah, which I also feel inclined to put at the top of the list is that people take time to do a concept.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people that don't do that. And
I
I,
agree.
you know, some people write like one sentence that they,
Yeah,
you know, but I don't feel like that is as great as taking the time to draw something, even if it's a rough sketch. So.
yep, I
They
agree.
are obviously can paint large,
Flowers?
certainly have a pretty straightforward, natural,
No,
you know, kind
person's not
of thing.
Yeah,
this person have a mock-up? No?
nope.
Okay,
And then,
the third.
and she has been here before.
I have
That
that
was
house
probably what,
in my house.
2 years ago?
Yes, I believe
Three?
it's two.
Oh, 2022. So
We
three.
bought that painting. I have it in my backyard. Yeah.
That's cool.
She has more of a cubist style except for that she has more of a cubist style, which is a
Yeah.
little underrepresented, you know, in some of the other things. But then most of her other stuff, it was about 50-50 through toss up
Did she have a, I thought she had
concept.
a written one?
She did have, yeah.
But-
Flower, which I did read this, and I think that's why I scored a little bit higher for her,
Yeah,
but,
that's a shame.
I didn't wanted to choose a person because I just felt like already have been in the mural festival. I like to give a chance to somebody that have that experience. But
Well, for me, Michelle Wilson is out. And it's between Kayla and honestly, because they've thought about what they would want to do.
and to be 100% positive, somebody is gonna drop out of the 30 that we invite.
Right.
Yeah.
So Michelle,
Yeah.
Simone, you know, the next pretty much 10 people are gonna be on the wait list.
Exactly.
So one of them will get in.
Cool.
I'm,
They'll have a wedding.
Yeah, or
yeah.
something like that.
So I don't know if we, yeah.
You know, the three who gets the offer and the other two are standbys.
Does anybody else have any thoughts
Any input on that?
between Kayla, Michelle, or?
And the standbys do not know that they're standbys. They're given an offer just like every.
They,
Michelle?
they are put on the wait list
Yeah.
for like
But
the,
And the flowers are gorgeous. I
yes, I do send them an email saying that they're on the wait list because,
And Kayla.
you know,
the local.
yeah, yeah.
The only reason I chose,
Kenzie did write in here, I vote in favor of locals.
okay,
I don't know, I guess I'm kind of inclined to too. I mean, I don't feel like 6 locals is too many.
And her work is strong.
yeah, she's definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
People
of
can't-
those ones, all of them have done big pieces, so
Yeah, I feel,
it's hard.
and you, how do you feel about Kayla over Michelle? Or Michelle over Kayla?
and Michelle scoring higher than
Okay.
you do. I think it's.
I'm gonna be sure that one. She was in the first 20.
I think the art. Where they.
There's
And
Yeah,
one of those two children that don't know it.
we have a lot of other side projects.
yeah. Well, yeah,
Trying to find them.
Right. Is the other one, Kayla? I can't see it.
Oh.
And the consensus.
Okay.
Okay, they're this big.
Yeah.
Well,
but
we
she
did,
can
I just
click on
clicked
it.
on all of them. We just looked
Yeah.
through all of them.
Yeah,
So,
she can click on them and pull them up.
yeah, we just went through.
So
So this is Simone again.
Simone. And she's not local,
And then there's Michelle and
No, I mean Denver, I think.
but she's a Denver artist, yeah. Might as well be. Or Marcus will be.
This one is
Michelle.
oh yeah, Michelle. That's her
Big pieces, some impressive
Mhm.
piece.
I like that last piece best.
All of them.
We have to make
Turtles.
some hard decisions.
name. Yep, and then this was Kayla again.
That's a huge snowboard.
It
Yeah,
is,
it was a big one.
but it's not the size of a wall. But her last piece is an 8x8.
12 by 12.
That's it.
Wow,
That's
And then,
Oh.
like I said, this was,
Yeah.
she was the only one of those ones who did a concept. So.
Yeah, a drawn up concept.
Go Get Wild, is that it?
mhm.
Yeah. Oh,
then
man,
one-
this is, I don't know why this is so hard.
It is, I
What-
mean, if
What-
this is,
what-
this
you
is
get a
the only
mark
thing that's
against you
hard.
for
we're
using
good.
a
Yeah, we're
moose.
doing pretty good this year.
I'm sorry, you got a mark against you for using a moose. No, I've seen so many
He's so
moose. It's a lovely concept, though.
Yeah,
I like the twist. It's not square, it's off center. She has a sense of realism and abstract, at the same time, which is easy on the eye, kind of thing. And will counterbalance most of the other, most of the other are fairly natural.
okay, so
Yeah, and I guess I was gonna try to think about like how, was there a few other ones that had flowers as the content? I don't really think so. I definitely like the flowers.
Yeah.
Kind of gender skewed, but that was who submitted.
Yeah.
A great deal of it.
Yeah. And I don't think that specifically anybody had a bunch of flowers. A lot of these were animals,
yeah, a lot of animals.
a lot of animals.
Can't find the heart of a flower.
So,
Oh, wow, that's my new album.
Oh, do we just want to go around and like vote who our number one is out of those three, and then we can,
Out of those three.
Yeah, those three.
Just put the name of the.
This is,
well, I think we have to say it.
do we send up white smoke? Once we have this?
Okay, everybody close their eyes.
close their eyes. Okay, but yeah, I guess we can just do a raise of hands. How many in favor of Kayla Thompson? 2, 3. How many in favor of Michelle Wilson? 2. How many in favor of Simone White? 1. Okay,
All right, Kayla Thompson, and then Michelle will be our first,
Alternate.
yes,
yes,
Mhm.
definitely.
she's great. That was a hard choice.
That was a hard
And we're
choice.
still offering Kayla the door too?
No. So we will have to choose door.
Good boy.
Yes.
The young
I think I'll get there.
boy.
So 2 wait lists. Wait list, that's 3. I think I'm just gonna throw 10 on the wait list.
I think that's great.
I think last year we only did like 5 or 6 and it wasn't enough. We scrambled to find.
Yeah.
Reynolds, the second one down.
Yeah.
Did that make it or is that on the wait list?
That'll be wait list.
Right, really?
Shocking.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was really
Yeah.
excited about him.
I put him a 7.
Yeah, me
He's an
too.
extraordinary artist, but
He is.
people like to see things that they're familiar with.
Yeah.
And so it's hard that's why none of them have ever won. We've always, historically, last year was the least geometric canvases that we had because there has a tendency to lean towards the natural or towards the impressionism of things as opposed to the cubist you know, kind of approach. And last, because Eric was involved from the very beginning, and Eric being someone who was really into cubism, we always had 3 to 4 that made the final cut that were, it's like, okay, Wild at Heart, I don't see a heart on there. What's wrong with this? But yeah, I was a little surprised because he's a really, really good artist, and but we do have the abstract one in Hanson. That's, you know, he works in a slightly abstract kind of way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can still see a tire once you look at it through your phone, but were you here for last year?
It was, but I didn't even realize I was supposed to do that. I don't know
Yeah.
how I missed it, but
He gathered a lot of people around him, and it was just such a magical kind of moment that lots of people were just like,
Yeah,
oh
the
my
ooh
God,
and
what
ah.
was this? I was surprised he didn't win, actually. So many people.
Yeah.
Cool. Good job, guys. Oh,
Okay, so with that, the 2 ski chairs. And I do think I want to give KFFR some vote on who paints their doors. I don't necessarily, especially if, you know, it's not coming from our funding, I think that they should choose that. So
Mhm.
I think I'll wait to deny the rest of the people here,
Yeah,
until after I talk to Ryan about some of that. But I do think that we could pick the 2 ski chairs. I don't think a lot of these larger artists, I mean, there's some people who do really large things are gonna be interested in the chair, so I feel like that could be the local.
Are there any
option.
more locals in this bottom?
Yes, Carolina Snyder and, oops,
The format is local, right?
Beth, Florida.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
She's not in the
Come
bottom.
every
She's,
day.
She got
comes
in the
every-
top 20.
she's in the top 20.
Yeah, they fly in every year to take the train up. And then Tanya Stern, Seth Blevins, and this Tommy Branson. Or Brandon.
he's the
This
one that
was-
hurt his ankle.
Yeah.
I read the
Yeah.
whole story,
Yeah,
so I was like,
Yeah,
oh, poor guy.
he definitely didn't score as high as some of the other ones, but I mean, he did a mural and that's Granby, isn't it? Isn't that mural in Granby?
It says county.
Oh, yeah, 2 Pines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's clearly Harry's Peak.
Yeah,
I've seen it before.
The Bear Club.
it does say mural. I've seen it before. So
Can we
we've got a
send
commission
them,
2 years.
can we send them emails, like all these locals, and see if they'd be interested and then decide based on their yeses or nos? Would that be a possibility, or should we
What if
just
all 4
decide?
of them say yes?
Then like, we don't say like, you're definitely gonna do it. We should just ask like, would
yeah.
you have interest? And if they do
Yeah.
say yes, then we can decide.
Yeah.
Like, we will get back to you based on your response. If
Or-
we're, you know what I mean?
I mean,
Because
Yeah,
you lose again.
you lose again. Sorry, you didn't make the cut the second time.
Yeah. No, I think that we choose to
Okay.
offer it to. If they say no, then we'll choose the other 2.
Okay,
So I'm not gonna, you know, put not invited on these yet.
yeah,
I'll try to send out. I'm leaving for a flight today. I'll try to send out all these emails
Yeah, no
for the
rush.
invited, waitlisted, and then invited to do the ski chairs
yeah,
today,
okay,
and then hopefully hear back by this weekend.
yeah. There's-
Most people are pretty close, especially the chairs. I think maybe I can let them know to let me know by next week.
That's a
Then-
cool idea.
And then we can ask other.
Are we married to the idea of choosing the ski chairs based on the mural submissions, or? Because I do kind of feel like there'd be other artists locally who might be, this is just, I mean, I don't really, again, don't feel married to this either. Saying that word a lot, but,
I see what you're
you know what I mean? Like, do we do like with the minis and say, hey, we've got these 2 ski chairs, because there might be other artists who
Mhm.
smaller scale
Yes.
and want that like
But we
Uh,
do have more ski chairs that we are doing later this summer.
So there are options for them to be able to be offered.
Yes.
These people pay $50 to try and enter into this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they've
but
got skin in the
for
game.
the mural.
Yes, and the only reason I'm saying these two chairs is because it's in the mix of the mural.
I do, yeah, and if it's gonna be during the mural fest, then it makes sense to
Yes.
offer somebody.
Yes,
Yeah,
But
and-
there are myriad others that you have a list.
yeah,
in Cali.
and I do think that we can advertise that via, Sarah's socials or whatever. all the
Yeah.
Town socials for a call for artists for that, and
Yeah.
that doesn't have to be a pay entry, that can just be, show us your interest.
call,
Send us
like
some-
many,
Send
yeah.
us some stuff.
Local
Yeah.
artists,
Cool.
submit, and what would you
Yeah.
do for,
Yeah.
kind of ski chair? So there's so many of them that I don't have time to prep them before.
Right.
Before we get to paint them.
Cool.
Yeah, and we were thinking maybe September for that, like early September for that anyway, so
Yeah.
I think we have time to do that one. So I think that we pick two locals to do the ski chairs
Cool. I was just,
for the Mural Fest one, but
yeah.
yeah, I totally understand.
What are their names again? Will you show us the locals that you had in mind?
Yes, so Carolina Snyder,
I do really like she's developed a lot as an artist.
Yeah, that's a lovely piece, the first piece.
Yeah,
yeah, so this was her concept.
and I think that would be baller on us. And like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, Carolina. I'm very impressed with where she's headed as an artist.
That was last year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pleased. Definitely would be open to offering her a,
yeah, Kenzie said she loves her work too, so.
uh,
And I
A
do
ski
feel like she has been a supporter of the event,
yes,
and
yeah. It did that to me too the other day.
Okay, so if everyone's in favor of her, I can reach out to her about that one.
Yes.
It's awful so much activity after we do court, but
That's fun.
close enough.
Cool, well, let's chat next week about her.
We'll push it up. Okay.
Thank you for your help. Okay, so she was the,
Yeah, Grandpappy, thanks.
the next highest scoring local.
Is Carolina?
Yes.
Okay. And then
So I think we could invite her,
I moved for that. Carolina, she was the next highest scoring local and she's had a mural last year.
second.
Has been.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty exciting.
Plus she's really nice. She's like one of the nicest people.
And then Tanya Stern.
You click on Tanya?
Yep.
Yeah.
My glasses are real filthy. Or my computer.
Mine would not approve.
So, little whimsier, might be hard to have on a ski chair just because it is so,
Not my
like,
vibe. for this
fluid.
picture Personally.
But I definitely want to suggest this to her to ride because I think that she could do really fun stuff for the doors.
Yeah.
She was certainly on my list.
I
for
think
that
she
one.
could do a great ski chair, but for Mural Fest, I wouldn't choose her. I think because with the other ones, it sounds like she'll have more
Agree.
time. And if it's just like, hey, we want you to get this done on a weekend, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like she could do really good work if she had like a month with it,
Well, and I do think that when we do it in the future, we'll probably have it be on a weekend. so that
Okay.
we do it quickly, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, and I don't know that
mean,
she'd be,
Yeah,
I shouldn't even say that because I don't know how fast she paints, but
Right.
I second that one. I really like hers.
this is Seth Blevins. Wish he would apply for plein air.
I know. Some of these people I'm like,
I
"You're
know
so
there was
perfect
still
for
like
plein
3
air."
or 4 of them that I'm like, I can do that one. And
Maybe
then-
in those emails, you could like do a little PS. We
Yeah.
have this really great event in the fall.
Yeah.
I'm for Tommy.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the idea that he's younger. He has done art in Granby. And this would be a big step up for him to join in doing something on this side of town.
Mhm. And it sounds like after his ankle injury, he could really use a win.
Yeah. Um,
So and my vote is to offer it to them first, and then if they say no, we go back to Tanya or Seth.
Any objections? I guess any seconds on that?
I second.
Okay. So Carolina and Tommy for the chairs.
Mhm. And personally, if I had to say, I would love Carolina to be the one that's here and just like based on style. And Seth to be down there. Tommy
To be
down there.
down.
Yeah, and in front of headletters.
HTA. I see. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just vibe wise, but
Yeah.
they'd both be great.
Yeah, I mean, her bold style would probably be good too there. Cool. Yeah, and then we still have, there was one other part-time local too, actually. Let's see where she scored on here. She was lower than Tommy. You guys can't see that one, can you? Hold on, I gotta click on it a different way. But I mean, I could also show Ryan her stuff too to see if he's at all interested. But
I love
um,
a rabbit holding a donut.
squirrel,
Is that a squirrel? It is a squirrel. Chipmunk,
chipmunk.
a
Uh,
round creature holding a donut.
yeah,
Yeah, I still feel the same way though.
okay.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was just throwing that out there because
Just to,
I could mention that to Ryan. So, and who knows, depending on how much money they can come up with for
yeah.
certain things, I mean, maybe they can invite one of the artists up here. I mean, this one had a bunch of music stuff on it already, which I thought was kind of cool.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
And this sort of matched the style of the mural that they bought last year
Yeah.
that had the music on it, or
Yeah,
music
definitely
instruments.
favored that for them.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
So I can talk to him about that too. I just don't know what their budget
Yeah.
could be like. So, yeah, that was another one of my thoughts. But it sounds like he's pretty set on trying to keep it as local as possible, which I think is great. And if none of these other ones suit him, then maybe we could do a separate call for
Mhm.
artists that doesn't involve them paying to be in like a big event. So, and that's also supportive for them. Okay. I think that we are good to go there. Obviously, maybe next meeting we'll try to figure out, hopefully I'll have responses from all these people if they're going to participate by next meeting. And then if we need to go in through the wait list and decide on some of those that have the tied score, we can do that. I'll also have a couple map options. I have some ideas for congregating more artists in a few of the places. A bit more. I don't want to have less than 2 artists together or less than 3 artists together.
Yeah.
We typically had 2, and I want to try to have a few more in the same space. So Sarah and I talked about maybe closing down just from like the winery parking lot to 40 and Fisher's, right in front of Fisher's. So not necessarily like that house there or anything back there, but that side of the street so that.
So it's just a dead end. Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how that'll work, but I'm gonna put that on the map and then utilize more of the back of Camber. Cause I feel like they've got a lot of space back there and that kind of has bigger bubbles in HTA and in front of like the Yellow House in Goranson Park and then there in Muir Park. So that's my plan.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so I'll bring the map next time. We do need to start reaching out to businesses about the food and offer of like meals that we usually give. So last year we put them on the back of their name tag cards. The distillery typically gives like a meal up to $18. Sharky's gives a burrito. Simple Coffee did like a discount on coffee. So anybody wants to spearhead that. But we can also, wait till next month. I think it's still a little bit early, having 2 months to figure that stuff out is plenty of time.
We'll put out some feelers until then.
to have music and, you know, other things during the event. It's always great. I mean, I told Nick that it'd be awesome if he had music behind Camber and in that area, since it'll be closed off anyway. Be awesome to have some of that stuff going on.
I thought we had Dealer Takes Four playing on Sunday, Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I have some ideas for sound, so
Mhm.
I will
Awesome.
reach out.
Yeah.
I thought of Mike Turner,
Okay.
from Red Dirt Hill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The Peterson brothers, but I don't know if they would donate. I feel like.
Well, and historically, Sarah, I mean, like Sarah pays Andy Strauss to do the sound, so we just haven't been able to like solidify that he's available for that.
He was on my list.
Yes,
too.
so I don't know.
So
I'll
our
have to talk to her.
awards party is on Saturday night.
Saturday night is when we give out the commission award. And we're doing it
And it's
in
6 to
yes,
8.
right here. 6 to 8. We give out the commission award and artist choice award. And then I had thrown in another award that I'm still hoping that we can add, that I'm talking to Sarah about. That wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was Fraser's favorite. And then we would pass out like options for board members and town staff to vote on. So seeing if that's in our budget. It'd be nice to have one more mural, and it wouldn't be huge prize money, but it'd be something else. Because then People's Choice Award is on Sunday.
Well, and so they would need soundboard and what else?
Yeah, I can check the email from.
Because that's gonna be one of their questions.
Yeah, and when I had asked them, because I thought Brandon could probably do it, but there's a few things I don't know if he has.
It's
And
kind of our go-to for any last minute.
yeah, I mean, I volunteered
Such
him
a
that he was gonna have to
trooper.
do it. So
Maybe Elroy, I don't know.
he said,
Doesn't have his own board, but
if
maybe.
not, a couple powered mains and subs would do it. But obviously they've worked with Andy before,
Right.
so. But it's Harmony Grass weekend, so I'm assuming it's probably busy, but TBD. So if you have any ideas, let's definitely just touch base.
So you already have a particular out to Andy Strauss.
I assume that Sarah has talked to him. I have not, so. And I mean, if we can figure out how to have KFFR there, if they're gonna live broadcast anyway, I feel like that should be good. We just gotta see, you know, what we can do. And maybe that is the trade. If that covers them.
The case for
Doing
their
the sound
soundboard
and-
to pay for their doors painted.
So I'll definitely ask about that. And see what we can do. But yeah, other than that, I think we're pretty golden. Of course, next meeting will be big to get volunteer stuff done. Or, you know, figure out the volunteer things and map and meals and all that good stuff, so. Yeah, anybody have any other business?
With the volunteering, are we coordinated at all with like the volunteer sign up that Grand Foundation does, looking for their call for volunteers in the area?
Not that I know of, no. We do usually just do a sign up genius. I mean, I was debating on whether we would have a separate sign up genius for us and for the public. Because we do need to have a PAC member at the tent at all times. Ideally, somebody that knows something about FVA will also be there at the time. So I don't know anything about the call that the Grand Foundation has. So
Okay.
I mean, if they want to share that, that would be great. I do think that there's an option to put it on Grand County Tourism website as well. They have a whole list of volunteer opportunities. So
Okay.
yeah, I think we should share as much as we can. The more volunteers we have, the less work all of us have to do. So
Maybe even geared toward the breakdown.
yeah, definitely. And I don't know if Joe really wants help with breaking down a lot of that stuff. But we can see.
But it's like trashes and stuff that's like the breakdown.
Yeah,
We-
yeah, and I don't know if we put out a lot more like extra trash cans, but definitely like the tents and stuff. This cleanup will be a lot easier than Fire Nice.
I move to adjourn.
A second.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Awesome.
Okay, I don't know how to.